Well, great. Hello, hello. Happy Wednesday, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for your support. And let me just ensure that we have sound. That was a great intro music for us to get us started with a really cool beat to get our momentum going for our webinar. Thank you, everyone who is here for joining us today. Again, let me make sure that I have sound. If you can hear me, post it in the comments and let me know that you can hear me and where you are watching from, where you are supporting this webinar. We'd love to be able to send you a great shout out and also recognize your community. So I do hear myself. Perfect. I know we are live. We are streaming this with an incredible new resource for our community members who are going to be here and take advantage of this. Uh, Let me make sure to remind you that these webinars are here. We bring here, excuse me, every Wednesday, and they're intended to create pathways, make you aware of all the great resources and the latest connections that we have available for you in the neighborhood. So thank you so much. Today, we are excited to bring together purpose-driven individuals who are exploring meaningful careers in mental health and coaching. Today's conversation led by Christopher King, who is a member of the Toivoa Coaching Academy, is here to give us a little bit more and help us understand how this pathway can become a more insightful potential opportunity for you. This is you can become a board certified health and wellness coach through this particular certification. And then he'll tell us a little bit more how the program works, how Toivoa Coaching Academy is helping participants learn and make real work impact. Christopher is a board certified mental health coach. He's part of a particular community as well. He has also participated in multiple clinical studies. He's the real expert of this community. So without further ado, let's really make sure that we get started. Please post it on your comments, share with someone, tag your member from your community. Don't keep it to yourself. And let's connect and celebrate more opportunities for all of our members throughout our neighborhood community. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's begin. Well, once again, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Heidi, all the way to Florida for confirming that we have sound. This is always the biggest fear is we're having a live webinar and then the sound goes off. But that's okay. We also have a lot of notes to ask Christopher and to document so that all of you can take advantage of this incredible resource. We're so excited to learn more. But first, let's welcome our guest. Christopher, thank you so much for joining us. Please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit more about your career trajectory and just what makes you a great partner today.
Thank you so much for introducing me and having me. My name's Christopher, as Laura said, and I'm really excited to speak to you all today. I just want to start by saying that to tell you a little bit about my background, I have a lot of experience in research in both clinical and social psychology through the University of British Columbia, where I did my undergraduate. I worked as a lab manager there, managing multiple labs, both at UBC and across the continent in a research partnership. I worked on independent research projects related to kind of analyzing social anxiety, depression, and comorbid populations. And then kind of the combination of that experience the social psychology experience and the mental health experience in clinical psychology led me to Toivoa and Toivoa Coaching. I was actually one of the first cohorts of Toivoa Coaching. We've had multiple cohorts since then, so I'm really excited to talk to you about both my experience and the experience with Toivoa Coaching. I also am currently pursuing a master's in palliative care at the University of Maryland. And I have a lot of experience with the military, both personally and professionally. I am an employee also at the VA, and we're getting ready to start a large clinical trial with the VA and exploring relationships with the DoD and other areas. So a lot of experience with the military. And I'm really excited to talk to everybody today about that and about the opportunity.
Wow, what an honor. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to come in and enlighten us a little bit more how we can pursue additional and alternative opportunities, but most importantly, this particular one, because this is the dearest and dearest to a lot of our hearts to make sure that we are driving more intentional support, especially helping a lot of our great veterans and military families in general through mental health challenges and just in general, supporting us better as well. So I'm excited to hear more about what the company does. So let's just go dive in really quick and give us an overview of what is it like to become a certified health and wellness coach.
Yeah, of course. So the first thing I always love to talk to people about and bring attention to is that blue circle on the top right corner that says NBHWC approved training program. So there's about 140 programs out there that are under this umbrella. It's the certification is done through the National Board of Medical Examiners, which is the same body that also certifies nurses and other medical professionals in the United States. Which really speaks to the credibility of the NBHWC credential. You might kind of have heard the word coaching here, there, in a lot of places, and we really love to bring attention to that this is a very reputable credential. You can feel free to go to the National Board of Health and Wellness Coaching website, take a look at what other programs are out there. There's programs like at Duke, at Mayo, Moffitt, a bunch of others as well. You can feel free to take a look. But I'm really excited to talk to you today about really what makes Toivoa unique, and why it's such a wonderful opportunity, especially for the military community. And so, just to start to tell you a little bit about that, about what makes us unique. The first thing is that we are really focused on health and wellness for individuals with disabilities, as well as for people in the military community. And we know that there's a lot of overlap between those two populations. And we're also really focused on mental health. And we also know, so many people really want to be able to give back and support the populations that they spend so much time in. So it's a really wonderful opportunity for that reason. And the really great part about Toivoa Coaching also in particular is that, in less than a year, you can become board certified. And I'll walk through the timeline in a second. But, we go beyond kind of what the standard curriculum is. We really bring in a lot of knowledge around disability, around military communities, around mental health into our curriculum. It's more than just the standard education that NBHWC expects, which is really exciting. And the other really exciting part about this is that we have a partnership with an organization named Toivoa, who loves to hire our graduates. And while hiring isn't guaranteed after certification, you get to know us, we get to know you, you get to know our culture, and it becomes a wonderful opportunity that we'd be happy to consider for you post certifications. And I also do really want to highlight that all training and all coaching work, if hired, is completely virtual. And which is really great, say, if you move bases or you move to another place, or if you just kind of want a remote position that offers you more flexibility and things like that. It's something that we really love to highlight about our program. So I'm just going to go to the next slide. And so not only is this a really meaningful opportunity, but it's also a growing opportunity. The coaching industry is currently at about an $18 billion industry, and it's projected to go to about 35 billion or so by 2032. This, really reflects the need that coaches are aiming to fill, and reflects, how valuable people are finding coaches. There's companies out there like Noom that use coaches for weight loss, Headspace to help manage stress, and then our partner Toivoa, who combines digital therapeutics with coaching to reduce anxiety, depression, and other areas in military and disabled populations. So it's a wonderful opportunity, and like I mentioned, coaches are being used a lot of these settings, as well as the VA and other military settings as well. I'll just go to the next slide. And here is a little bit about the timeline of our program. So the program's broken up into about 4 phases. The first phase is the instruction phase, where you would join class time on Monday and on Wednesday from 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern time. That's where you get the opportunity to interact with your fellow classmates, really learn the material well, do breakout rooms and practice your coaching skills and things like that. And that adds up to about 88 hours, and that's about 10 weeks. So you meet on the Monday and Wednesday for those first 10 weeks of the program. That's phase 1. Phase 2 is the practicum session, where you do 50 coaching sessions of approximately 20 to 30 minutes. This is a required component to apply for the NBHWC exam. And this is really where you take the skills you learned in class and really hone them in a practical way. And we assist you with finding people to do these sessions with. And we pool. You can't do it with your own family or friends or your classmates, but for example, we can pool family or friends of another classmate that you could coach. There's also Facebook groups, Reddit groups, other social groups on social media, where people exchange coaching sessions, and we really help you get set up and prepared that and provide you feedback on your coaching throughout this time. And then you do phase 3, which is an exam prep phase. And the exam prep is about 80 to 120 hours. We encourage people to study a little bit each day during this phase. This is completely asynchronous. One thing I'll just highlight about phase 2 is that that's also asynchronous. You just have to complete the 50 sessions within a certain time frame, about 10 weeks or so. And we haven't had anybody not be able to complete those 50 sessions who's actively pursued them. So just one note there. And then going back to phase 3, we have the exam prep phase. So we also have Q&A times during this period that you're welcome to attend. That would be live. We have quizzes, things like that, to really get you prepared for the exam. And so our next 2 cohorts, I'll just share the date, and then I'll just walk through the dates for the March group, just because that's a little bit that's just maybe a little more helpful, since the January 6th date is coming up soon. But I'm happy to talk about the January 6th date if anybody has any questions about that later on. For the March group, for example, going back to the 4 phases, phase 1 is about March 23rd to June 3rd. That's the class time. Phase 2 is the practicum from about June 3rd to August 10th. Exam prep's about August 10th to November 3rd. During this time frame, you would also apply for the exam. So once you complete your 50 sessions, you're able to apply for the exam. And what you do is you apply by the deadline. They get back to you and provide you a link to register for your exam, and you get to choose the time, the day, location, and they're all across both the US and internationally, those exam centers to take that. And the exam's about 4 hours. And like I said, we do a lot to really make sure you're prepared, that you feel ready, and are happy to really support you throughout that journey. And you'll also see some quotes from myself and others at the bottom there that you are happy to kind of look at. It's always a little weird pointing to myself when I'm also talking here, but there I am. And one thing I'll just note before I go to the next slide is that one of the slides later will talk about the cost of the program, as well as some financial support available. But I do want to highlight that if you are potentially interested in the January 6th class, we do have support available through MyCA, as well as the GI Bill. And we'll talk through kind of some steps for that, but we'd be happy to help you get that submitted right away if you'd potentially be interested in using one of those financial support options and being in that January 6th cohort. We're happy to kind of get that process rolling. And just going to the next slide, one thing you might ask yourself is, what's the difference between, say, a mental health coach and a therapist? Well, one thing I really love to use as a metaphor is the idea of somebody in a passenger seat. So, the person in the passenger seat might provide some directions on where to turn, might kind of point out things or provide some guidance, but they're not the ones actually turning the car or slowing down or speeding up or paying attention to traffic. Like that person, a coach is really somebody who provides support, who provides structure, and really helps people, internalize skills and encounter behavior and conduct behavior change. And that behavior change can really help address mental health symptoms and things like anxiety and depression and things like that. Versus, a therapist or psychologist that might follow a certain paradigm, such as cognitive behavioral therapy or acceptance and commitment therapy, and who tend to kind of treat more complex disorders. Coaches don't treat the disorder itself, but like I said, it can help with things like behavior change and reducing some of those symptoms, and that can really make a difference. And we've seen in some pilot studies that we did that really making a difference for a lot of patients, which has been very exciting. And yeah, so and just also want to highlight that the value of a coach is that they really have a lot of flexibility to be patient centered. They can really, you know, introduce material, can tailor it to the client in a way that's helpful for the client, or can work on say goal pursuit um, or other types of behavior change in ways that maybe like you wouldn't necessarily be able to do when you're following kind of a fixed treatment plan in an area such as cognitive behavioral therapy. And coaches, because of how the field works, are able to see more patients than a traditional psychologist. And a psychologist right now are really overwhelmed, as some of you may know. So coaching, like I mentioned on a previous slide, is really filling that healthcare gap, and it's really great to see that being done. And I'm just going to go through some of our faculty here. I'll go through kind of faculty members briefly, but I'll make sure that maybe you're able to kind of see the slides, or send you them after if you're potentially interested, and you can feel free to take a look and read through people's backgrounds more thoroughly. And I just want to start by bringing attention to Brenda Buffington, who is the head of our faculty and one of the mentors in our program. Everybody who goes through the program is assigned a mentor. This is somebody that supervises them during kind of, all phases of the program. In the first phase, they'll assess something called a practical skill assessment, which is during the classroom phase when you kind of take those skills and coach a classmate and kind of demonstrate those skills. And then you're provided feedback before you go into the phase 2 of the practicum on kind of how you can improve your coaching. As well as, like if you have any questions about oh, you read something and you just want to clarify or something like that. That's kind of the role of the mentor, and everybody gets one throughout the program to support them. One thing that's really unique about Brenda, who leads our classes, is that one, she was at the U.S. Air Force for a number of years, working on health promotion and disease areas, and as well, she has a 93% average of passing the NBHWC exam. And this is above the national average, which tends to be about 85 to 87%. In other words, depending on the year, we're about 6 to 8% on average above that national average, which is really exciting because it really shows to you that we are really proud of having a faculty that is not only, a great, super warm and friendly, but also can really support you in pursuing this career and being successful in this career in this industry and preparing you for that. So that's something we really love to highlight. As well as we have Linnea Fletcher, who's one of our faculty members and mentors. She was with Dr. Buffington at Ohio State for a number of years and went through the program there. She was a certified trauma nurse for more than 25 years and continues to practice in the emergency department at OSU. We have Josh Wynn, who is also went through the Ohio State program, has worked in a lot of areas in coaching and other fields, and we're really happy to have him. Myself down there, you'll see. As you know, as Laura mentioned, I'm a board certified health coach, and I've worked in a lot of areas around mental health. We have Alex Kirk, who is a recent SkillBridge, who went through our coaching program as well. Wonderful experience, both in the military through his experience as a clinical psychologist at the Jacksonville Naval Base that's he's brought to us, as well as extensive, military and other experience that really, informs our curriculum. With both him and Brenda, like I said, we're really bringing that military focus into our curriculum because we really want to be able to serve military communities and be able to kind of give back and be able to provide that support that is really needed right now for individuals in the military. And we also have Rita Landgraf, who is with the Secretary of Health and Human Social Services in the state of Delaware for a number of years, and has a lot of experience in disability and other areas as well. So really, really happy to have her. Great. And so this page here talks a little bit about the costs for our program as well as financial support that we do have available. And I'll talk through this, and I'm happy to kind of answer some questions around this as well. And so our overall cost of the program is $5,000. However, we are really proud that we're one of the only NBHWC programs that is approved through the MyCAA as well as the GI Bill to provide tuition support for our program. And so if you are applicable for one of those fields, MyCAA can give you $2,000 for our program. GI Bill could cover $2,000. And then we also have $1,000 scholarships available for military spouses that we're really happy to be able to offer to cover the remainder of that cost. And then we also offer flexible monthly payment plans, and we're available through SkillBridge and Hiring Our Heroes as well, which, like I said, we really want to make sure we have great people who have experience with the military in our program and potentially working with us down the road. If you are applicable through MyCAA, you are able to kind of contact your career counselor and apply through there. And then we have paperwork to provide you to submit once you do that step. And I'm happy to kind of work with you on how to submit GI Bill as well. And yeah, so that's a little bit about that there. So I'm just going to go to the next page, which talks a little bit about next steps. And then I'm excited to answer any questions that might be available. Like I said, if you are potentially interested in that January 6th class, we have been told that there is still time to submit through MyCAA. We just would kind of need to get that started pretty soon, but we can kind of get that started and submit by the end of the week if you're potentially interested in exploring that step. And like I said, we'd be happy to kind of provide guidance and support around that. So just to go to this is kind of just a checklist about what the next steps would be if you're potentially interested. So if you are interested and it's applicable to you, check in with your MyCAA career counselor to start the approval process for that. Once you've done that, you can feel free to send me an email with your availability to schedule a 30-minute interview, just so I can kind of get to know you a little bit better. And then once that step is done, you'll receive a decision within about 2 weeks, usually under a week, but about, in between 1 and 2 weeks, we provide a decision while we're kind of working through MyCAA GI Bill and making sure we got a plan for that if you're interested in one of those pathways. Then you'll be asked to accept the offer and you'll receive some information on kind of the start of the program. So yeah, that's kind of a little bit about us, just to do a little bit of a recap. Our next 2 classes are starting either January 6th or March 23rd. We have a really exciting opportunity to become a board certified coach, which is really in-demand job and a meaningful job to really be able to give back and support the military community. And we also have potential employment pathways available through our partner at Toivoa. And the overall program is about 28 weeks. And next steps, just like I said, explore these pathways if applicable. Let me know about when you'd be available for an interview. You'll get a decision pretty soon and be asked to start. So I look forward now to answering any questions that people might have. And thank you so much all for listening and taking the time out of your day today. So I'll just to close. Yeah, there we go.
Thank you so much for all these great information, Christopher. This is wonderful. We had a lot of great comments, and we'll highlight those for you in a little bit. And I love it that you mentioned SkillBridge, you mentioned MyCAA, and you also mentioned GI. So spouses, you can perhaps coordinate or collaborate or negotiate. I'm just saying that because that's what I did with your spouse to give you a tiny little chunk of his GI to cover for something like this. Perhaps, it's something that you can have those discussions. For the skill bridge, can you just briefly go a little bit of that? How does that kind of work on your end?
Yeah, so on our end, we'll just provide a little bit of information on it depends a little bit on the time frame. So for example, if you're doing like a 3-month skill bridge, that would cover the first phase of the program, the classroom time, the first 10 weeks, and then part of the practicum. You would work a total of 37.5 hours, but that includes the classroom time. So that's 4 hours of classroom time and then 33.5 hours. You have flexibility to let us know what your schedule would be. We just need it to be hours that you can be kept consistent. For example, maybe you want to work 6.5 hours, every morning or something like that during the week, or as an example. And that's something you kind of can explore with your career counselor. And then, we'll kind of work through things on our end to provide some support as well. But they're the primary point of contact. We don't, we're happy to, we look at candidates, we can approve candidates on our end, but they're the ones who actually process it and do that first approval. So.
Wonderful. And I know that there's a comment, those that are not approved by my CAA, is there any other way that you have discovered other students have been able to find sustainable options to meet this program cost? Honestly, it looks pretty modest, the program, and especially there's so many programs out there and so many fairly high cost. But is there any other alternatives for covering the cost that you think of that you can provide for those that are not necessarily MyCA approved, not GI options? What about WIA, Work Opportunity Credit through local states? Have you guys discovered some of those?
So the primary ways that we've discovered so far have been through the GI Bill, SkillBridge, Hiring Our Heroes, and MyCAA. Like I mentioned, we also have flexible monthly payment options available, and we're happy to work with individuals to kind of break that down in a way that both works for us and works for them along the time frames. If there are other opportunities potentially where people could think of support that might be available to them, we're happy to kind of explore those and see if that's something that we could work through as well. But those are kind of the ways thus far that we've been approved through. And like I said, we're really excited that we have been able to be offered those pathways. Because and I can tell you, I was the one who set up all the GI Bill, and it was a lot of work, but I'm really glad it's been valuable work that we've had a few people go through that as well. So like I said, happy to work with individuals and kind of see if there's something that worked for both parties.
Absolutely. And I think this is a really great investment that you can do not only to yourself, but to your community, and to it will replicate and just trigger lots of great positive feedback and I don't know, actions back to you because of the work that you'll be doing. You'll be helping individuals through various challenges, perhaps that it would also be very rewarding. I do have another question, posted a question from one of our communities out here that doesn't show into the, but I know you mentioned group sessions. Are there any kind of, I'm sorry, you mentioned that this is very asynchronous. Are there any group sessions or meetups to create kind of like a group community, or is everyone very sort of an individual on their own type of thing?
Yeah, so like I said, we have class twice a week during that first phase. That's really the biggest part, where you can kind of come together with your group members. You do breakout rooms as well in groups of about 2 to 3. So then you really get to know kind of a small cohort more in depth, and get an opportunity to kind of coach each other and talk and really build that relationship. We also have had people in the past who have either lived in close geographic proximity to each other and have decided to meet up at like a coffee shop or something like that to do studying as well, or they've chosen to do like a meeting on Zoom or something like that. One piece of consistent feedback, and anybody who goes to our website will see this, is that Dr. Buffington, who leads our coaching class, does a wonderful job of creating community. That's one of the most consistent pieces of feedback that we've gotten for our cohorts that have gone through so far. Because we know, when people invest into their community, they want to learn more. And they not only do they want to learn more, but they do learn more because they build that relationship, and they really want to, be able to support themselves and support everybody else who's in the class. So.
Absolutely. And I do have a question out here that I wrote down from one of our communities. So if someone doesn't have any background in education yet, no bachelor's or nothing, can they still join this program?
Yeah, so there is a standard requirement that NBHWC sets, that you either have to have an associate's degree or higher, or you can have 2,000 or I believe it's 2,000 hours of work experience.
Okay.
And they list this on their website. You can check that. And that is a requirement to be able to apply and take for the exam. That being said, you do not have to have experience either in education or the mental health field to go through our program. We've had everybody from college students to people working as social workers and wanting to transition to a new career, to people in the military through SkillBridge. We've had a lot of people, both Alex and others, who have gone through the program. We've had a lot of people, kind of come from us from different backgrounds. Dr. Buffington has had vet nurses, dentists, some other medical professionals that necessarily haven't done mental health, but been in that field. Has had like a lot of people in marketing, other areas. The most important thing is that, one, you really have a passion for the field, and two, you're willing to learn. And if you have both of those, we have a lot of resources and we have a lot of support to make sure you're successful, not only in our program, but beyond.
Excellent. And I think you did answer the question, but I do want to bring it up here from Jamie over in one of our Facebook groups. She wanted to know if there are scholarships from ICAA, and you did recap that. You'll work with them. There's a payment plan, and there's other scholarships potentially that you can introduce if they're eligible for that. Also, Ashley wants to know, what is the range salary for some of these with this career? And I'm thinking probably there's not one single career, because once you earn it, you probably pretty much define it in many different areas. But tell me more, Christopher. What have you
Yes.
learned from your students?
Yeah, of course. So according to Glassdoor, which is an organization that provides like information on salary in numerous amount of fields, it's about 74,000 or so annually for coaching. I will say the salary of a coach does vary, like you just said, depending on kind of what career you're in. There's a lot of people who do private practice, who might charge a little bit more. There's a lot of people who are, like I mentioned, work for companies like Noom or Headspace, or who could potentially work with us. But the average, according to Glassdoor, which provides this as a sort of an industry benchmark, is around that 74,000 a year.
Got it. Okay. That's great. And this, and this, for a lot of people who are starting, I would say this could also be a great startup career that could transition to a more full-time, bigger sort of a picture. But you can also design this to be a side gig or a part-time consultant type of role. I imagine I will probably visualize that starting in the beginning until I build that credibility and confidence that I can do this and help so many great people who need the support and the skills that I would probably provide. But yeah, and I also want to just really quick ask another question that I had out here. So who is, you mentioned pre-screening, a question, so to make sure that you are a good fit for this one, but who is a good fit for this type of pathway in the Toivoa coaching model?
Yeah, like I've mentioned, the first two things is that, you care about people and you want to give back to people, because this is a career that's it's health coaching, that's mental health coaching. It's about really taking care of people and really providing support that people need to reduce anxiety, depression, or reduce stress, or really make some lifestyle changes that they need some help with. So the first thing is that just care about people. For people who want to give back to the military, it's a wonderful opportunity through Toivoa Coaching and Toivoa to do that. We've had a lot of people, kind of come through our information sessions and come into our program, talking about how military spouses who have talked about how they really want to give back to other spouses, because they know what it's like having to transition bases every 2-3 years, something like that, and kind of the challenges that come with doing that. And because this is a fully remote opportunity, it doesn't impact, for example, a continuum of care for both military spouses and individuals in the military. And that's something maybe some of you have experienced, is that you go to a new base and you have to have a new doctor and you have to build a whole new relationship again. So people who really want to give back and really address some of those challenges, it's a wonderful opportunity for them. I would say those are the most two important things. People who want a flexible career, both in hours, location. Like I said, you can do it from anywhere. One thing I didn't mention earlier, but is also important to mention, is that currently there is no state licensure requirements to be a coach, so you can be anywhere, versus like a psychologist who's licensed by the state. That's not a barrier in the health coaching field. So I would say those are kind of the top things. And just just if people want to give back.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for clarifying that, and for reiterating who is a great fit for this program, because we want to make sure that you make it and you make it there. And if this is something that you've been wanting to do, for sure, make the investment. Think about it, and then I'm going to share it out here where you're going to find the website. So we'll all share it right there in the comments so that you all can go. But this is what the website looks like. So make sure that you don't do what Laura does, and maybe there's a typo and then you end up in somewhere other website. This is Toivoa Coaching. This is what the website looks like. Right here, there is a 28 program link so that you can sign up or you can learn more about the program, and just to make sure that you are in the right community. There is a link here, but I didn't ask Christopher and I didn't tell him ahead of time, but it says join our info session. I tested it, and you can click on it and put your information so that you can be reminder when there's another info session. But not only that, guess what? We are also going to keep Christopher and Toivoa Coaching into our community. They are in our neighborhood community as well. And so if you come to our neighborhood community, you can actually see right here, you can see right here that we have them in our upskilling folder. So when you go here to upskilling folder, you can then be able to find them. If you do buy the newest, they're right here. You can find all of our training partners, and then there they are. Is a direct link, and then there's also a PDF file. And Christopher, if it's okay with you, we'll share our your PowerPoint that you shared today. We'll upload it here to the community so that individuals can actually see it and have a little more to read on the great talent that you guys provide, or they have in your academy as well.
Of course. Thank you so much, Laura. Like I said, there still is time if anybody's interested in that January 6th class. Otherwise, we'd be happy to have you in the March class. Reach out to me. I'm happy to get the ball rolling. I covered a lot of the information today that I would normally cover in an information session. You're happy to join one if you would like, but otherwise you can kind of get the ball rolling and start kind of with that interview process as well. So just last thing I'll say is that I appreciate everybody's time today. And thank you so much for the opportunity and taking the time out of your day.
Absolutely. Thank you, everyone. And again, if you need to get a hold of Christopher, how can we connect with you? What is the fastest way to get a hold of you? Through the website, through your email, or and then if you can watch the replay, of course, please make sure that you pay it forward and let others know. Go ahead, Chris.
Of course. So the fastest way to reach me is my email, which is cking@toivoacoaching.com. I just texted you, Laura, if you can drop that as well. Thank you so much.
Sure. I just dropped it.
And great, yeah. So that's the fastest way to reach me. Like I said, if you're potentially interested in that January class, don't hesitate to reach out right away. I'm happy to kind of get the ball rolling about that. And I look forward to hearing from people. The more people and the more interest we get in our program, it really, harkening back, it builds that community, and we love that. So
Absolutely.
just wanted to say that as well.
Great. And make sure that when you email Christopher, you mention that you are learn about it from Blue Star Family, so that he knows that you watch this video and you learn about him. And that just really quickly, would like to go. We got 2 minutes, 1 minute. I'd like to be able to go and recognize some of our shy members that don't post comments and don't share anything, but they're watching. So I'd like to send a shout out to Adrian, to Taylor. Thank you so much, Amanda. Also, Katie. I'd love to be able to send a shout out to Amy, Josh, and Jose, all the way out there in our LinkedIn community. We have some more great individuals supporting out in our Facebook. So thank you, Ashley. Thank you, Jamie, Jennifer, Heidi. Would love you so much. Thank you, Royal. Thank you, Sid. And then another Jennifer. Thank you so much for supporting. And then I know we have Sierra and Selena over in a digital community, and Anna and Mariah. But thank you so much. Again, watch the replay, connect with Christopher. There, right there is his email address. You can go straight to the portal of their company, or you can just meet us in the neighborhood, and we'll have everything there more accessible to you, so that if you forget, like somebody mentioned in our Facebook group, Christopher, I'll tell you this funny story. Somebody mentioned in our Facebook group when I posted it a couple of days ago that you were coming to do this webinar. They're like, "Oh yeah, I remember them. I've heard of them before. I emailed or called, but I've completely forgot. Now I'm going to be following up." So that was a good, sort of a food for thought that we saw, remembering that this is such a great service and potential training opportunity that they'll definitely have been probably looking into it, but time gets in their way, so everything will be available in the neighborhood. Anything else that you can share, last call to action before we wrap up, Chris?
No, just thank you again, everybody, for your time. Love to have you in the January 6th class if you're interested. Would love to have you in the March 23rd class if you're interested. We really are excited to build this coaching group and really create a lot of coaches that can really give back to the military community and really support the military community's mental health and lifestyle, which is really needed. So I hope everybody, I hope people would like to join and do that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you for watching, for taking time out of your busy schedule, everyone out there, to support this. And thank you for following up with Christopher. Again, make sure that you remind him that you came from Blue Star Families. And then also that you keep us posted. Please come back and share it in the neighborhood. Tell us, how did it go? And then when you are a coach, we want to celebrate with you. We want to make sure that we celebrate with you and support you throughout your career. So once again, thank you very much. Have a great rest of your Wednesday, and we'll see you next in a couple of weeks. Well, actually, we'll see you in the next year, because we don't have webinars for the next couple of holidays, but we'll be back in January with a great other partner, and then make more intentional discussions. Thank you. Have a good one.
Right. Take care.